Welcome back, Mount Vernon. We are now into today's December 11th, 2024. Welcome to the City Council public meeting. This evening, we've already gone through the housekeeping. We've already gone through the Pledge of Allegiance in our public hearing. We are going straight to a presentation from Empress Ambulance Service. But I would like an intro by our Tony Everett, if you don't mind. If you could come up and just give us like a two minute introduction to what Empress is going to be doing for the city of Mount Vernon. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam President and the honorable council persons. I'm Tony Everett with the Mount Vernon Fire Department. Mount Vernon Fire Department. We are grateful for this opportunity to have representatives from Empress come and present to you what we believe is not only a new and exciting program here in Mount Vernon for EMS services, but a much needed service that we need in the city. So this is Mr. Hannon Cohen and Deputy Chief Sean Bryan, and they will present that program on our behalf. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them.
Thank you so much, Ms. Everett. And who would like to go first? If you could just state your name, your title. Come on up.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate the opportunity to be before the council. I will try not to break anything. I've done it before. Anyway, as you know, Empress has been for 38 years, has been a pretty well-established partner in the EMS community in Yonkers and the rest of the county, and now have expanded through the Hudson Valley through some strategic needs of suffering communities. During that time, we've worked through a lot of innovative processes to try and meet needs as they've evolved. And I think, as we all know, basically since early 2020, the world was kind of spun on its head, and the emergency medical service system, not just us, but the entire system, including the hospital portion of it, has kind of exploded in utilization in ways that it really hadn't been before. Though, if we look back, we've seen those changes coming for about a decade, where ERs and emergency medical services have now been relied on for a lot of primary health care because people have no other access to it for a multitude of reasons, and not necessarily due to insurance or level of, of housing or homelessness, just because the system is stretched, public health is stretched. And what's morphed into is that the emergency rooms and those of us that support the emergency rooms with pre-hospital emergency care have now become the social safety net, the medical safety net, the physical safety net, the mental health safety net, et cetera, for a growing population and an aging population that has a whole nother set of needs as they move into the retirement processes. So I know Mr. Minerva and folks represented from the city have worked through a couple of proposals that would meet the growing needs of the community, and not only in a way of becoming kind of right-sizing the system for where it is and where it has been, but also to add a very innovative program to serve citizens in a way that has been across the country for about 10 to 12 years, but fairly new in New York State. And that beyond expanding the staffed emergency medical units to increase coverage across the city and to decrease the need for outside units coming in from further distances, was also to add a layer of support through a community paramedic program, which addresses the fact that about 30% of patients nationwide who enter the 911 system could be better served in another location. It's expensive for the patient. It's a stress on the emergency services system. It's a huge stress on the emergency departments when 30% of the patients that come in there 20 years ago would be seen in their doctor's offices and actually probably be provided a more appropriate level of care. So across the country, we've been working on several programs, a few of them in Westchester County that have been highly successful, and attending to those direct and indirect needs of about that 30% to help reduce the burden on the true 911 responses and help reduce the burden in the ER to allow those crews that do go in, have less wall time, have the patients seen sooner, have the vehicles returned to service sooner, have a more efficient system while providing those 30% of the patients more appropriate care delivered in a more appropriate place and time, which is usually where they are, whether that's their place of work, whether that's their home, whether it's a shelter, et cetera. We have a program called Community Paramedicine, where advanced practice paramedics are trained to actually help navigate these people to appropriate health care, re-engage them with the services that they may have fallen through, and on an acute level, treat them in their home, in their place of business, either through paramedic protocols or through telehealth support with a physician with full patient consent, full family consent, to deliver them with a more appropriate care, more patient-centered care, keeping them out of the hospital, keeping the 911 units in service at a lower impact, both on the community, the patient, and financially. And the systems have been, again, New York State, we're kind of late to the ball on a lot of things through a lot of reasons. But we've been one of the few in New York State. It's been approved by the Department of Health to do this. We're in our 8th year with some highly successful programs. Patients love it. ERs like it. Their family doctors get re-engaged with them, and we find those gaps that have been preventing that person from being healthy in their home and being recidivists in the system for faults that are not their own, for faults that have been driven on them by a system that has more gaps, more challenges than the average person can actually filter through. And our job is to manage that for them and make them healthier and keep them out of the 911 system. So that's kind of the comprehensive snapshot of what we're looking at. I don't know if that meets what you were looking for, but and we have a lovely long PowerPoint presentation, but that would be for another time, I'm sure.
Yeah, so we have, what is it, 4 ambulances? Is it 4 ambulances that Tony, you want to come back up? And let us know the specifics?
So we currently have 2.5 ambulances on the ground servicing the entire city. Our EMS runs are up significantly. We're generally around 75% of our dispatches. We're now up 82%. Every month this year has been over 3 months have been at 90-something% of our dispatches have been EMS. So our proposal is to increase from 2.5 ambulances to 4, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, plus the community paramedicine program to assist us with our persons in crises or our popular patients. So we believe that if we can move them over to the community paramedicine piece of this program, it'll free up the 911 system for those who are critically ill or have a critical life event. And it will also put us in good stead with the county. Right now, we cannot handle all of the calls that we're getting. We're actually above 1,200 EMS runs above this time last year. And so we're back to relying heavily on the county to backfill for us, and we cannot sustain that type of service. We're pulling buses from other communities to help us. The wait time or response time for those buses to get into town are between 20 and 25 minutes. And so we're concerned about the delay. Now, that's 20 to 25 minutes from the time we call and the bus is assigned. That doesn't include the other time before that. So it could be 30, 35 minutes, even 40 when you put all of the time together. That's too much time for folks to have to wait for an ambulance, especially when the patient is critical. So we believe that increasing the number of ambulances helps to service our growing population and the growing need in the city. The other thing I gave Councilman Potep my paper, so I don't remember off the top of my head the percentages, but our percentages of persons in crises is up 25% versus last year. They all require some medical service. We think the community paramedicine program will help those patients. As our community ages, our slip and falls of our seniors is up over 12% from last year. And so the community paramedicine in that instance program, we would pair with an ambulance to find out, and that's our entree into community assessment.
So I think, I just want
guess.
to be a little bit more specific when it
Sure.
comes to that, right? So as I stated at the beginning, we have 4 ambulances that are owned by the city, correct? Is it 4? Okay,
Yep.
they're gonna be manned by Empress personnel.
Yep.
Okay, we're gonna have a paramedicine program coinciding during the daytime or a certain period of
Yes.
hours? Okay.
10 hours a day, 5 days a week.
What does that actually look like? Now, I know you were talking about it. So is that going to be like somebody driving around in a car and then calls the ambulance if necessary? Or how does that look?
If I may, first of
Sure.
all, the community paramedicine model is one of the reasons why they work so well across the country. It's just they're not cookie cutter. And New Rochelle's versus White Plains versus Mount Vernon versus Yonkers would not be identical. But the standard entry approach to building a successful program is 3-tiered. One is working with dispatch to identify high acuity, high recidivist patients that we know sometimes use the system dozens of times a month. We already know what these patients' underlying problems are. So with that list, we would proactively approach these patients before they dial 911, hoping to offset the next 911 call. The second part of that would be for the 911 calls that are in the field, the 911 crews, that they could refer into the program patients that they feel the next time could receive care in a more appropriate place and offset a potential transport. And the third part of that is actually co-responding on a cross-section of calls that are kind of nationally identified with an ambulance. So a dual response. The paramedic is a specially trained paramedic with about an extra several weeks of just specific community-based training, but they're New York State certified, Westchester MAC. They have all the same equipment as the 911 paramedic, but their job is to do it much the other way, much is to do address the social issues and keep the person from the hospital. So there's 3 ways in the beginning to enter, and that would certainly be a system that morphs over time as we feel each other out. But the three entry points would be pre-known patients that we hope to address prior to the call, respond to those same patients on a 911 call as a dual response, and then direct referral back from our crews of any patients that they respond to that they feel this would be a benefit. And then we can do one of 2 things: flag them in the system, respond the next time, or put them on our list of folks to try and visit before that occurrence.
Thank you so much.
Very well.
Does any of the other council have any questions? Councilman Potteet?
Don't go far.
Thank you, Council President Gleason. Good evening.
Good evening.
Just a few questions.
Sure.
One, what's the cost of an ambulance?
I believe, again, without Mr. I know that the financial information that we submitted, including our ground ambulance data collection, I believe touched all the points on that. My part of it is not honestly financial, it's community health and operations, but an ambulance costs easily $1.3, $1.4 million a year to keep on the road, not even to maintain and supply, but just to deploy. And that's a round number, honestly. Mr. Minerva would be the finance guy.
But to buy the ambulance and maintain it, how much would it cost to buy the ambulance? Just curious.
It can vary. I mean, again, the fixed costs is, the fixed costs are, supplies and vehicles. Vehicles can range in drastic price ranges. You can, seriously, it's like a car. You can have the entry level model at, maybe 110,000, and you can have the, I'm not even sure what would you call it, beyond the Cadillac, the Bugatti maybe, at $500,000. And do they functionally do the same thing? Sure. Do some of them do it a little better or more designed towards a specific need? Absolutely.
And what's the useful life of an ambulance?
It depends on the area. I mean, I can tell you in rural areas.
For here, no.
For here, we, not long. And again, we depends on the deployment, right? A closed system like yours, the lifespan would be greater than an open system where our other units are covering any call, anytime, anywhere, purely by mileage and wear and tear. But they do, idling is expensive. Repairs on vehicles can be expensive, but the front load of all of it, unfortunately, is workforce costs.
So what's the useful life? I mean, what's the useful life of an ambulance here in Mount Vernon? Just curious, if
Well,
you
yeah.
have an estimate.
And then realize our units now, once they leave Mount Vernon, may be put into a secondary role, so they may have a longer lifespan. But Mount Vernon, as being a smaller city, the mileage isn't nearly as large as it is in others. Again, to be honest with you, we could probably have our fleet department run a report and give you really accurate data. But I would hope your vehicles would get, 6 or 8 years.
Perfect. Okay.
And I would certainly say, honestly, there are small municipal agencies that get 10 years. Our New York City units get 3. But, you're certainly in the middle, and I would hope on the upper end, just based on the fact that your geography is condensed.
Got it. The issue that I have with the contract that Empress is putting forward. And thank you for the response, by the
Oh,
way.
that actually came from Mr. Minerva.
Oh.
President.
Okay, well,
The president of
awesome,
the company, yeah.
awesome,
Like I said, he's been the one that's done all the basic discussions that have gone on.
awesome. In the current service that you're giving us, you're working with your ambulances.
Correct.
In the proposal going forward, you would be working with our ambulances.
Correct.
And what I'm a little concerned about is the fact that the price isn't lower, given the fact that you're not having any wear and tear or use of your ambulances, you're using ours, and we're not getting any credit for the use of the ambulances. That your president says, it just so happens that you just, yep. Oops, 1 second. He had said in his response that the increase in labor costs offsets the credit that we should get for the use of our ambulances.
Well,
That labor has gone up by 9%, and therefore, because it's gone up by 9%, although I think we should get a credit for it, that wipes out the credit that we would get.
and again,
I'm
based on his response, again, as in most things, unfortunately, in our industry, labor is the intensive piece.
Right.
Vehicles are fixed. Whatever the price point may be, it's minimal compared to a well-paid, EMTs and paramedics with decent benefits that, again, we hope a livable wage for a county that is not the cheapest place to. And I can tell you at the end of each year, our struggle is not keeping vehicles on the road. It's keeping EMTs and paramedics well-trained in the seats of the vehicles. So 9% at 1 year over the life of this agreement. I don't know what he's projected out, but that would certainly add back on whatever those costs were against the lifetime of the ambulance. And again, for real detail, I would refer back to him because it wouldn't be fair, because I know he's done a lot of digging with a lot of the folks. But the imbalance always has been on the labor end.
Got it. So we're being asked to sign a contract, right, for the ambulances. So having that level of detail would be helpful before we sign a contract.
And again, if it wasn't, if it wasn't supplied at his answer, it can certainly easily be.
So just to wrap up, it just seems at best arbitrary that the credit for the use of our 4 ambulances, which adds up to anywhere between, $1 million to $2 million, of use that you're getting for our ambulances, the credit that we're getting for that is 0. So my recommendation would be, and I'm just one of 5 council members, right?
Please.
Would be to look at why that is so small and that the city's not getting a proper credit for the use of our ambulances.
Okay.
Just to then say differently, the price would almost be the same if you used your ambulances. It wouldn't change much. And so why that delta is 0,
Well,
just doesn't make sense to me. Go
again,
ahead.
I've been working on the community paramedic side, but in reviewing this prior to now, I also looking at the current price versus the cost, the offset of 4 ambulances at 36 unit hours a day, again, of labor added into the fact to offset the vehicles. And yes, using the vehicles as part of a combined system, but saying that there is, no offset, I would disagree with, only knowing how extracted over the last 4 years through now, insurance, et cetera, employees, benefits have, truly had to keep pace with an industry standard that was woefully, lacking, which is why there's been a, tremendous across the country insolvency of, well, look, you can even see hospitals, doctors' offices, and ambulance services because they had a non-sustainable, position in their community. And that's something after 38 years, we think we have a fairly good handle on. But if you'd like more detail, absolutely.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Council President.
No problem. Anybody else with any question? Okay,
Yeah,
Councilwoman
I
Brown.
don't really have a question. I think most of my concerns have been, are being addressed. My apologies. Is that better? Yeah, so some of the concerns that we had with the contract, and I know this may not be your area, you're more of the community guys, what I hear. Is that we just need specificity in the contract, right? I think the point of a contract is to lay out the terms, the expectations, and we need clarity around certain things. Some of the things around preventative maintenance, would love for that to be laid out. I would love for some examples of the maintenance that Empress is handling on the buses to be laid out in the contract. Some of the reports that we've been requesting over time, I would like for that to be laid out so that we set clear expectations on what we want to see so that we can track progress, et cetera. Another one of my concerns was response time. And I spoke with Tony Everett about this a lot. In this community, I think we really should be hitting around 6-7 minute response times max, right? And I think right now we have a target of 8, and I would like to see that lower. If not I'll give me a second.
No, sure, yeah.
If not in the first year, but having some mechanism in the contract to lower that, right? I think we're 4 square miles. Yes, I know that ambulance buses have to travel outside of the city, but I think with the paramedicine program, with the fly car, we have some ways to get it down, and I really want to see us get there.
Sure. But again, there's probably one of the biggest national.
Speak into the microphone, please.
My apology. One of the biggest national discussions right now is around response time. It's seriously probably one of the hottest topics amongst medical directors, medical personnel, because it's always just kind of been an arbitrary number. We've always, when I was first a paramedic, it was 6 minutes, on average, right? But 6 minutes on average means it's the midpoint. So probably about, I think almost 15 years ago, a different measurement came out called a fractile response time. And that's where the 8 minutes came in. And that was a national standard that pretty much is honestly rather hard to meet, because a fractile response time is something only that I think is known in EMS and fire circles. It makes no sense in the whole rest of the world because it's not an average. It's a endpoint. So an 8 minute fractile response time at 90% means 90% of your response times are less than that. So if I was a mathematician, and I've seen the graphs, if you put that against an average response time, 90 percentile fractal response time is faster overall than a 6 minute average response time. It's a very different mathematical measurement, but you can certainly be compared, and response times do matter. But again, a lot of things around clinical outcomes that can be measured too, but whole different discussion. But understand people expect, what are they looking for? They're looking for somebody to show up quickly and safely. But the measurement standards of a fractile are actually very more encompassing than average. And it's just really kind of a language that's used in the fire service and EMS, but it's easy to see the difference on a graph. So I think what we're talking about was fractile response times, not average response times. This is where usually the 8 minutes comes in, if that makes any sense.
It does, right? But I think if we say if the fractile response time is 8 minutes, right? And we say 90% of our calls, if they get in at 7 minutes and 57 seconds, right, then we're meeting the target, right? And what I'm really trying to do is make sure that our target is a little bit lower, that we're trying to get to that endpoint a little bit quicker than 8 minutes. But I understand your point.
But I guess you're right. But and again, not having a graphing calculator, that 8 minutes, et cetera, in a certain geographic area, is probably going to be an average somewhere in the 6 to 7 minute range, because it's 2 different measurements. So I think that's what's confusing, but yes, agreed.
And to the points that you raised, the preventative maintenance, the list of additional reports for the contract and the response times, those concerns were sent up the flagpole. And although Mr. Minerva is not in town, he wanted me to assure the council that he has no problem addressing those issues, listing what we mean when we say preventative maintenance, listing the additional reports under that section of the contract, and working out response time language that you'll feel comfortable with.
Okay, so I have something to say. And I, in no way do I mean to jackpot you at all. We have gotten several complaints, regarding Empress. And one of the reasons why I wanted you guys to come and talk to us tonight is just to instill the confidence back into the council to re-sign a contract with you guys. I think this is something different that Mount Vernon is not used to, so I'm excited to see what nuances come of it. But I will tell you that I had one bad situation at the Boys and Girls Club one day where we waited and waited and waited for one of the basketball players who had a compound fracture. And as the 12th minute came and they were coming down, I believe it was 5th Street, they got T-boned. That ambulance got T-boned and another ambulance had to come. And I had heard all the complaints prior to that, and to have to actually witness that, and I actually witnessed it with a mother of a child that had been murdered here in the city, that it was rough to witness. So I just want to make sure that when we're giving you these ambulances and you're manning these ambulances, I think, kind of piggybacking off of what Councilwoman Brown said, I know it says 8 minutes. We should be shooting for 5 or 6. I've looked at other communities, New Rochelle, Yonkers response times. Our response time a couple of years ago was like 10 and 11 minutes getting places. So I just want to make sure that anybody who's going to be manning our ambulances really takes our community seriously, to the point where obviously you want to be safe. And I do believe that adding units makes it a lot better, because you actually can cover all 4 square miles a lot better. So
That's actually an incredibly valid point, because look, I mean, safety, honestly, in healthcare is one of the biggest issues in hospitals, you name it. Patient safety versus the care that's provided, there's kind of a little bit of a chasm between it, and it's not leaning in the patient's favor. So an accident would certainly be a danger, especially if the patient was then in the ambulance. And again, I don't know your numbers, but certainly, across the public safety spectrum, there are challenges and responses. 4 ambulances deployed appropriately would absolutely immediately have an impact on that. However, if on the customer service, patient interaction side, there's somewhere that we're lacking, that's completely inappropriate on our end. We try to have staff that works well in the city, that's been there, that works well with the police, the fire, the physicians, because if it doesn't, we get the phone calls, and that's a pretty unpleasant thing to deal with at 2 o'clock in the morning. But certainly, are there going to be complaints? It would be foolhardy of me to say that there won't, with the number of responses that are done in any given city. But if they're not addressed correctly, and if they repeat themselves, then we have to be accountable for that 100% of the time, because it's a patient.
well, I for one appreciate it. I will definitely, this is near and dear to me. I will definitely be looking for those reports on a monthly basis. I think we said, was it a monthly or quarterly? Monthly basis. And I look forward to this new experience with you guys. Unfortunately, it's not on the agenda tonight, and that's on my fault. But we will be calling a special meeting to bring this contract forward. But I made the mistake. I should have called the office and put it on the agenda, and I did not. Go ahead, Councilman Potteet.
One clarifying question that I'm worried that my comments weren't clear. If you could give me information on how the credit was calculated for the use of our ambulances. What went into the calculation that came up with the credit being 0? And be as specific as you can. Thank you.
Understand. Absolutely.
Councilman Thompson?
Not a question, just a comment. I'm just eager to see the response time in and throughout our community to drastically get better. Because I know with our firehouses being strategically placed and having an ambulance service and strategically placed in those areas, I hope that the call time would be around 4 minutes, if you will, because no, I'm just saying between 4 and 5 minutes, because when we're going from utilizing 2.5, and I don't know how you drive a half an ambulance, but when you utilize 2.5 and now we're going to 4, I want our time to be drastically down, and I know our residents would definitely appreciate that. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to announce to the council, or share with the council, if you don't already know, and the residents that are in the room, that when we stand this up, hopefully January 1st, we will be staging these ambulances around the city. Right now, they all come out of Station 2. In January, we'll have one staged at Station 2, one staged at Station 3, and two in the middle of the city. We expect, we have high expectation of Empress that this will impact our response times, because now they'll just be rolling out of the bed and going next door versus going all the way across the city. So we do have
Ms.
an
Everett,
So we do have
with
an
all due respect, that's
So
how
we-
it's supposed to be.
Oh,
There's
so-
supposed to be stations. If you read
at
the original
nighttime. We have a high
they are
expect.
not supposed to be sitting at Fulton Avenue Firehouse.
Oh, sorry.
No,
Oh.
you didn't say that, right?
I'm sorry. We have a high expectation that these ambulances will respond quicker and arrive sooner and faster. Our argument, and Empress will tell you, I have not been the best friend of Empress with respect to response times. I have been arguing with them for years. Anybody will tell you that. So my expectation, if we go with this plan and the contract is approved, that we're going to see almost instantaneous improvement in response times because we've eliminated some of the excuses. So it's our expectation, and Empress is aware of that. And I also want to add that many times this relationship was adversarial, right? But in the last couple of months, we have seen Empress pull up to the plate in the way that we have not experienced in the past. And we want to keep that going, right? Progress is relational, right? And so we are developing better relationships with our partners. They really are our partners. So we anticipate seeing much improvement, and we have already in their reception to the changes that we're asking them to make.
Well, I would just like to say thank you, Ms. Everett, very much for coming on your free time tonight. Commissioner, also.
Madam President, can I just ask one quick
You wanna
question?
say something?
Just a quick question. Being that you've had that issue in the past, how does the contract address? So what happens if you are faced with the same issue of response times and you feel that it's unsatisfactory? How does the contract address that now? Like, is there any repercussions, or how do we, yeah?
That's an excellent question. Part of our angst was the previous contract defined response time, but it never said what was response time, what our expectations were. So now the contract codifies what our expectation is. That's new in the contract. And so there's a benchmark there that they have to meet at a minimum. Before we didn't have that. We could have, and we were arguing all day, what should
And if the
be.
benchmark is not met, then what happens then?
So the benchmark is 7.59.
Okay.
They have, I think it's 3 months to affect that benchmark. And if we can't work it out, we have options to terminate the agreement. That is not where we want to go. We believe they are going to make it and exceed it, but there are options in the contract. This is what we want. We need to get there. If you can't get there, then we have to think of someone who can, right? But we have work to do ourselves. And if I may take a minute to explain dispatching. So there are hot responses and there are cold responses, right? Someone who's having a cardiac arrest, that's a hot response. You want them to get there in 4 minutes, right? But if there's a lower response, my tooth aches, right? That could be a cold response. Our citizens are used to nothing but hot responses. And so we have some educating to do ourselves on what is a 911 call, which the community paramedicine program will help us with that as well. So we need to educate our community on what is 911, how to make 911. And once we go through that process, those folks that really need an ambulance in 4 and 5 minutes will have that availability. Right now, we're responding to everything hot. And it's a
No, thank you.
safety issue.
That definitely answers my question as far as how the contract addresses the benchmarks.
Yeah.
So thank you.
We have, now it's codified.
Yes.
And if after 3 sessions, we can't collegially resolve it, we have the option of terminating the agreement. Okay. I was taking a little moment to do some
All right.
educating while I was here.
Thank you so much. We appreciate Empress for being here, Commissioner. Ms. Everett, thank you so much. We're gonna go into our public speakers. I know everybody was very patient. Thank you so much. I do not see Pete, the tow truck driver, so Mr. Darren Welch. What? 3 minutes? You have 3 minutes and 1 additional minute to wrap it up. So please come up, state your name, your address. What did I do?
Yes. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Council President. My name is Darren Welch. I live at 306 Hutchinson Boulevard. I've been a resident there for 31 years. It'll be 32 in June, excuse me. And we have some issues that we need to make sure we are addressing. I'll read off the petition. I'll try to go through as quickly as I can. We, the undersigned residents of Mount Vernon, see Exhibit A, in the 8 households spanning from 284 Hutchinson Boulevard to 312 Hutchinson Boulevard, respectfully request removal of the no parking signs that currently prohibit parking between 8 and 12 p.m. on Wednesdays on Hutchinson Boulevard, between the corner of Etna Place and in front of 322 Hutchinson Boulevard. This restriction is an undue nuisance for the residents of our neighborhood. For over 30 years, we have maintained the portion of this boulevard without issue, and we'd like to continue to do so. Our reasons for the removal are threefold. Number one, lack of alternative parking. Our neighborhood does not have alternate side of street parking because the opposite side of the road abuts a small stream. 2 houses also do not have driveway. One is mine, the other is my neighbor, 302 and 306, which leaves us with no option but to park in front of our homes. Moreover, number 298, 302, and 306 have handicap parking tags attached to our cars that are issued by Mount Vernon. So the city is aware of this. We have accessibility concerns. Several of the households on our street have occupants with disabilities and mobility issues. I'm one of them. It's the inability to park directly in front of our homes creates significant challenges, especially for those who require easy access to these residences. Security concerns. In addition to the parking difficulties, we are also concerned about the safety of our vehicles. Due to the risk of auto theft and vandalism, the end of our block is the entrance to exit number 7 off the Hutchinson River Parkway South. And we found that people come on that street and do all sorts of things. I'm sure the city and the police department is aware of that. We prefer to park our cars in front of our homes, where they are visible and are easily monitored by our home security cameras. Parking on the side streets, which are not in our line of sight, heightens these security concerns. Case in point, my car was broken into on June 18th. Ongoing street maintenance. We've always maintained the areas in front of our homes, keeping the streets as clean as possible, free of debris. This has been the case for decades, in some cases for 4 or 5 decades, without any significant issues. As of for 28 years in our cases, there was no issues in that regard. As of 2.5 years ago, a sign was put up, 2 signs were put up, which caused a problem. We fully support the city's effort to keep our streets clear during the winter months. Our request for the removal of no parking signs will not interfere with snow plowing or other essential maintenance services. We understand the need for these services.
1 more minute.
I beg pardon? And we believe our street can be maintained effectively without the current parking restrictions. We received parking tickets and they were dismissed as per the issuance of Deputy Commissioner Hackett. In conclusion, we are asking that these signs be removed as soon as possible, which they are causing undue nuisance for us. At $75 a ticket, in my case, over a course of a year, that's $42,500. That's taxation without representation. That makes no sense to us and whatsoever. So we're asking that this issue be resolved as soon as possible. Obviously, today's Wednesday, so we didn't have that. But again, this could be a problem on an ongoing basis. We have supporting documents to back up our cases, and it'll be presented with our petitions. And we have the signatures of the residents we've already denoted. The second thing we want to address real quickly is we're asking for an installation of speed bumps on Hutchinson Boulevard. That'll be in our second petition. And lastly, real quick, we're asking that DPW give us the courtesy that when they do hydrant flushings, they at least ring the doorbell of the residents in front of the hydrants, in front of the houses. We've had many cases where those who have main water lines, the water supplies to our houses are fouled. It takes 24 hours to 36 hours to flush all that dirty water out of your system. That means we have no potable water. We have to incur that cost for additional.
Thank you,
laundry
Mr.
costs or
Welch.
anything else.
Thank you, Mr. Welch. Next up, we have Paulina Montesarco. You have 3 minutes and then 1 additional minute, and then I have to cut you off.
Hi. Well, he pretty much covered everything. Good evening, everyone. So basically, I've lived at 298 Hutchinson Boulevard for over 30 years, never had an issue in front of my home giving out parking tickets. I have 3 daughters that park on the street. We're 5 all total in the family that can't fit 5 cars in my driveway. And now all of a sudden they start giving out these tickets for street cleaning when the street cleaners come down and they don't even clean. So basically, I mean, pretty much what Mr. Welch said, is what, we're here to cover tonight. And an issue with the speed bumps. Cars come down, speeding, don't stop at the stop sign, especially when the hutch is backed up. They come off our block and just, it's so dangerous. Someone's gonna get hurt. So the speed bumps would really benefit if they can be installed. Pretty much, that's it.
Okay, and you said you have a petition, correct?
Yes.
And you have a copy of it, right? You're giving us a copy? Okay. Okay, and is that you, Michelle Zuparis? Okay. Come right up, state your name and your address.
Okay, I'm timing myself. Michelle Zuparis, 306 Hutchinson Boulevard, Mount Vernon. Yes, sorry, 302. I don't live with Mr. Welch or Mrs. Welch. Esteemed city council members, it is getting late, and I personally would like to thank you for all of the hard work that you do, because you guys are the backbones of small communities such as ours. So we appreciate your overtime. So our issue, I live between Mrs. Montesarco and Mr. and Mrs. Welch. And we do not have a driveway. We have never had a driveway. Mr. Welch doesn't have a driveway either. Putting in a driveway for us at this point would be in the tens of thousands of dollars. I live with my handicapped mother, who is 86 years old, and I have an autistic brother who is unfortunately slightly disabled because he has a herniated disc for which we cannot undergo any type of operation. So having our car out front where we can monitor it is of critical importance for us. Since we've moved there, we've never had to move our car except for the incident that happened on August 21st. We all received tickets. Those tickets were dismissed. The next time we received tickets was the day before Thanksgiving. We went before Judge Michelle Johnson, and she told us that this is a long-term problem that needs a solution, so that we should come before you guys and explain our situation. What we're asking for, I have one more minute, I see, is immediate removal of the no parking sign. And we would like the parking sign toward New Rochelle Road, going toward New Rochelle Road, to indicate a no parking free zone. So what I mean is that we have that span of area where we can park and we don't have to worry about. Yeah, they were like that. The signs were like that. We can't park across the street. There's a beautiful stream outside, and we don't want to park around the corner because we can't monitor our vehicles. So the parking situation is tight and it's difficult for us. The second petition, I understand I have one more minute. Okay. Yeah, the second petition is for the speed bumps. Everybody in communities surrounding us has speed bumps up. And we're also requesting a reduction of the speed limit from 30, which is posted now, to 20 miles per hour. The speed bumps are critical for us because people zoom through the area all the time. And there are not just elderly people, but people who are walking and also children on a regular basis who would benefit from a reduction in the speed limit and the speed bumps. I made it, yes. So thank you very much. And I would like to commend everybody on the council again. You're 5 people trying to manage 80,000 residents. And we recognize that honestly, civilization is difficult to maintain, but we thank you for your great efforts.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have Miss Alverna Sharpless. Is she online or in the room? Alverna Sharpless. Okay, Mr. Bruce Tanner. Is he online? Okay, Mr. Thompson.
It's Gabriel. Mr. Thompson's my father. So, anyways, yeah, the ambulance thing was interesting. I was actually defibrillated when I was 7 after being dead for 2.5 minutes. And luckily, not for you, but for me, it only took 2.5 minutes for the ambulance to get there, but it was coming back from a bad call, like a non-emergency call. And I actually was hit because of the speed limit where I grew up, which is no longer that case. And I was told that the council was going to change the speed limit. I know a lot of other communities, White Plains, Bronxville, have lowered it because it is like insane that it's 30 miles an hour to drive on these streets with parking both sides. Double park. I mean, it's just insane that that's even legal because we all know where he said it's going to be higher. Anyways, you know, I'm here mostly because like, I don't know, I feel like there's like this yearly, and I haven't lived here long enough to notice and look at details, but there's like this budget process that I feel like it's like everybody plays hot potato with it. Like this council, the council president representing the body, is 1/3 of the board of estimate. Board of estimate is the board of the budget. Right? Those are synonyms. So we have 3 branches of elected government on this board: the comptroller, the mayor, and the council. You all are responsible for producing the budget, not the mayor, not the comptroller, not the council. It's all 3. No budget, no estimate, annual estimate gets out of that board without a majority of those votes. And you know, it's wacky because we have a 4th branch of elected government. It's a little weird. But I feel like hot potatoes played. And the law is, our charter, our law is almost the same as New Rochelle's, right? So New Rochelle in October, early October, passes a resolution for their budget hearing, December 5th. So the residents have 2 months to know, right? November 10th is their charter's date. They have to have it out. They release it October 29th. And they go online and say, here's a budget, here's where you can find it, here's, you know, let us know. And here, it's just a game of like, it's a game. Like I was born in the dark, but not last night. Like you just don't produce a budget by October 25th. lie about when the state produces numbers, lie about the false testimony given to this council about basic fact, alternative facts, I guess they could be, about the fiscal year of the state, right? And it's like, then it's proposed, we should just change our whole charter to fix this. I'm like, no other city has this problem. Mount Vernon, we don't need to go changing the charter because what I think is the electeds here want to jam it up. They want to compress the time the public has to analyze. And if you don't want to, it's what you're doing. So what happens is you jam it up.
You have
you
one
don't-
more minute.
Thank you. You release a budget a month late. You announce a hearing for Board of Estimate contract the day after Thanksgiving for 3 days later. That's abhorrent. Like, you should be ashamed to look at people when you do things like that. Like, that's just not good governance. Even if you're late, say, nobody says, we're sorry. This is an excuse. We shouldn't do this. We should do what we're required to do. Anyway, so my advice, which I never ever pay attention to what I write, my advice is that people in the city go visit the Financial Empowerment Center, because I think the city needs to learn some debt management, budgeting, and saving skills, because it's absolutely irresponsible that you continually pass budgets with no fund balance, with no rainy day fund, that show fire department overtime, $4 million, almost 3.5 every year, yet allow someone to give you a budget that says 1 million. They're doing that so you don't have to raise our taxes the amount you need to.
Thank you,
actually
Mr.
put your-
Thompson.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. Ms. Tamala Boyd? Welcome, Ms. Boyd.
I also want to talk about the budget, but from the perspective of the charter. Right now, Mount Vernon is in the middle of a charter revision, and I know this because I'm chairing the commission charged with reviewing and recommending changes to the charter. And for those who might not be familiar, a charter is essentially the city's constitution. It lays out the structure of our government, defines the powers of local officials, and explains how decisions are made in the city. For example, the charter creates the role of the elected mayor and grants the mayor authority to appoint department heads. The charter creates the city council, sets the number of members, and outlines how they're elected. And the charter creates the role of the elected comptroller. If any recommended changes to the charter to any of what I just said are approved by the voters, those changes become law. So I think undeniably, the charter is a very important document. So the charter also creates the Board of Estimate and Contract and places on that board the mayor, the president of the city council, and the comptroller, the 3 highest ranking officials in Mount Vernon's 3 elected offices.
Can you speak into the microphone?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Ms. Boyd.
And one of the most important roles of the board is to produce the annual estimate, what we call the budget. And this process is so important that the charter, our constitution, sets forth exactly how the budget process is supposed to play out with actual dates and mandatory requirements. And the only variation or deviation allowed from the charter is that if a date falls on a weekend or a holiday, the applicable date is the next business day. And here's what the charter says about the budget. The board must hold a public hearing before it adopts the budget. By October 25th, notice of the hearing must be published and include a summary of the proposed budget. After publication, the proposed budget must be available in the clerk's office. By November 19th, the board must have a public hearing. By November 23rd, the board must complete and adopt a final budget that considered public feedback. Immediately after adoption, the board must file the budget with the clerk for submission to council. As soon as possible, after receiving the budget, council must convene and consider the budget and have a public hearing. By December 5th, council must adopt the budget as submitted or make whatever changes you're allowed to make and adopt that amended budget. That is what our constitution says about our budget process. Council notices budget hearing on Monday, December 9th, and the hearing will not occur until December 18th, nearly 2 weeks after the date council should have adopted the final budget. On the same day council announced the hearing date, it passed a very poorly written, error-filled ordinance allowing the city to blow the state mandated tax cap by nearly 3% without a word of input from the public, eliminating, I think, even the pretense that you care what the public thinks. 4 minutes is not enough time to recite all the ways in which the charter has been and continues to be violated by the city's highest ranking officials. So I'll sum it up by saying that you all have repeatedly, egregiously violated the mandates of the document that created these offices. And this isn't a one-time issue. As was admitted here a few weeks ago, this has been happening every year for several years. So I ask, how can any of you with anything even resembling a straight face expect the residents of Mount Vernon to respect the charter, to follow the code, or to take the rule of law seriously when the city's highest ranking officials repeatedly, flagrantly violate the charter, especially when it comes to something as important as the money that you're taking out of our pockets? And what's worse is that there haven't been consequences. Like, what do you all think the penalty should be for blatant noncompliance with the law? Because make no mistake about it, the charter is the law. The charter itself says that officials who willfully violate or evade its provisions are guilty of a misdemeanor, and in addition to other legal penalties, must forfeit their office. So why should any of you be exempt from this penalty? It's time for the city to check itself and to do better, much, much better when it comes to compliance with the charter, our Constitution. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much, Ms. Boyd. Karen Skaki?
Hi, good evening, City Council. Karen Skaki, 290 Collins Avenue, lifetime resident of Mount Vernon. All right, I'm going to give you my Christmas list and it's pretty fast. I'm going to check off gas-powered leaf blowers because I did speak to Ms. Gleason about this earlier today. My problem with it was that I did everything that the ordinance said to do when it was during a ban time where we submitted documented proof of these blowers being used. And a FOIL request back in September noted that not one violation was handed down to the landscapers. So that's major revenue that we lost for not only not having a permitted gas blower, but not having a licensed landscaper using those 1, 2, or 3. So I'd like to see that better or not 2025. Journal News. I'm not sure what's happened, but we've always had Journal News for our public meetings appear in print and in digital. But the last couple of meetings that were noted as public meetings did not appear in the digital part of the news. I mean, everything else is there, but the last public meeting published in the digital version of that was on December 4th. For the Mount Vernon TOD meeting that was today. So we need to make sure that the Journal News is in both places because many people don't get the print version anymore. They pay for the digital and they should be getting those legals. And it's just the public meeting ones because all the Supreme Court ones are there, the LLCs, anything else from Mount Vernon is there. So somewhere there's a disconnect that needs to be fixed. Fleetwood train station. We need to enforce the illegal parking in the area where you're not allowed to park, and that is the entrance to the train station. We no longer seem to have crosswalks there, and I think that that has to be done immediately. We endanger past pedestrians on a daily basis who come down the stairs or come down Grand Street, and they're crossing on their own because we have 2 businesses there that believe that they're allowed to park anywhere they want. They're double parked, triple parked, and parked on the other side of the street, and it has to stop. It's bad. We're the only train station on the Harlem line that allows that to happen. So I'd like to see crosswalks put there, and I'd like to see the cars not parking in the illegal parking area. And then if there's any way to make a drop-off area for those few people getting out of a car, for them to safely exit their car and get in a car. But remember, we are a train station. We are not a business's parking lot. I also do believe that the permit areas at the Fleetwood train station should also be free parking after permit hours, say. All the other train stations on the Harlem line say permit hours, 8 a.m. to 6
You
p.m.
have to wrap it up.
And this way, after 6 p.m., cars can park there. With the major parking issue we have, that train station could be vital for people parking their cars overnight and not parking in other areas that may interfere with other people. Gramerton Avenue between Devonia and Pondfield, we've got to put a speed trap. It has become a 50, 60 mile an hour speed zone for people, and it's dangerous, and it happens on a daily basis. They come out of Bronxville, they speed up to Fleetwood. If they catch the green light at Devonia, they're going 60 miles right into Fleetwood. The other way around, they're tailing people into Bronxville. I want to thank Deputy City Clerk Benier for always being responsive to every time I email her and very thoughtful in her responses. So I appreciate that. And I also do want to give a shout out to the new enforcement that you have put in place, because I've dealt with them a little bit and they respond quite quickly along with DPW, and they deserve that shout out. So thank you and happy holidays.
Thank you so much. Mr. Buzz Riley. I love saying that. Buzz Lightyear.
I just realized that the clock has stopped. Is that?
Yeah,
keep
it's
you all
not,
here?
it's a battery issue.
Okay.
I knew somebody was gonna notice that tonight.
Good evening, council members, and Council President Gleason. I'm here this evening to call for the consistent enforcement of our city's ordinance restricting the use of gas-powered leaf blowers. While this law reflects our commitment to environmental sustainability and public well-being, its impact has been undermined by sporadic enforcement and a general lack of awareness of the ordinance by the city's citizens. The city's clerk's office has been supportive when I've reported violations of the ordinance. I've provided detailed documentation, including locations, times, and even video evidence of illegal gas-powered blower use. Despite this, the results have been inconsistent. While initial outreach from the city clerk to these companies prompted temporary changes, the violators often reverted to using gas-powered blowers within weeks. I understand the clerk's office has many responsibilities beyond enforcing this ordinance, but without follow-up or sustained enforcement, these efforts lose their effectiveness. Since October 4th of this year, I've sent multiple emails to the city clerk's office documenting specific violations, including unpermitted vendors operating in Mount Vernon, instances of noise level violations, and schedules showing when maintenance companies regularly operate at specific locations. My efforts are meant to assist and support the city in the effective enforcement of the ordinance. But the lack of response undermines our shared goal of ensuring a clean, quiet, and healthy community. Enforcement challenges also extend to the Mount Vernon Police Department. In my experience, officers are often unfamiliar with key ordinance details, such as landscape or permit requirements or noise level restrictions. For example, a call to report a vendor exceeding permitted noise levels was met with indifference. The dispatcher simply noted, "Well, sir, it is Saturday at 12:30 p.m. Another instance involved an unpermitted vendor using a gas-powered leaf blower outside of the allowed hours. While the officer instructed the operator to stop until the permitted time, they were allowed to resume with no further consequences. In one of the more troubling interactions, 3 officers arrived on my street to address my complaint. Instead of engaging directly with the violators, they questioned me extensively, asked to see my license, and dismissed my evidence even as the violators continued their work uninterrupted. This pattern reflects either a lack of understanding of the ordinance or an unwillingness to enforce it. Neither should be acceptable. Enforcement is not just about upholding the law. It's an opportunity to generate revenue and offset budget deficits. I've observed that most vendors reported to the city clerk's office operate without permits and are based outside Mount Vernon. Of the 10 vendors I identified to the city clerk's office, 9 are from neighboring cities such as New Rochelle, Dobbs Ferry, and Yonkers. We have non-resident companies and non-resident workers enriching themselves to the detriment of the city.
Wrap it up, please.
And the quality of life to its residents. By my estimates, permit fees and fines from these vendors could have generated an estimated $15,000 to $20,000 this year that could address some of the budget deficits. We've made great strides in promoting sustainability in the city, and we need to continue. We need to commit to making Mount Vernon a model of innovation and environmental stewardship. Together, we can ensure this ordinance fulfills its purpose and contributes to the health and quality of life of every resident. I am offering to give you guys something just as a point of reference. This is something put together by leaveTheLeaves.org. It shows what each community in this county does as far as prohibition of the gas-powered blower. We are somewhere in the middle as far as our prohibition. And some are a lot more stringent. Bedford, for example, is that way. But I think you might find it useful just to see how we compare And there's also some information on the
Thank
back
you
about
so much,
mulching.
Mr. Buzz Riley, who also serves on our ARB board. Thank you for, oh, thank you. All right, so I'm gonna ask our, council maybe to limit the comments to what pertains to their committee. Oh, I don't see your name on here, Chris. I don't have your name on here. You wanna check it? Is it? I'm sorry?
Online form submittal, sign up to speak, the city council meeting. Chris McDonough, 17 Vernon Place.
Hold on, Mr. McDonough.
2:57 PM.
I haven't recognized you yet. Can you just hold on just 1 second?
Oh, sure. Yeah, oh,
All
yeah.
right, thank you. There was just a misunderstanding.
I understand.
I think that they thought that you were coming to speak for the hearing. So
Oh.
you did, we have
Well,
you.
except for you have the information. I was going to speak on the D-Toad. The D-Toad wasn't tonight. That was Monday. I said Monday night I watched the work session. I saw the comments about the D-Toad and I wanted to come to the city council meeting. I asked, was the city council meeting
Okay, we
before the
have it.
public hearing?
Okay, no problem.
You
State
guys
your
have
name.
that?
It's okay. They
Good.
took you off the list thinking that you were coming to speak at the public
Oh,
hearing. So no
I'm just a
problem.
little, it's late. I'm sorry. I can't. I
That's
don't want,
okay.
I don't want
Go
to delay
ahead.
this any longer at this
Go
point.
ahead. I just wanted to
Wanna get
make
it-
sure.
Okay, okay. So we're all good? We're ready to go? Okay, so Monday night, the D-Toad, the downtown transit oriented arts district. You guys had the developer here to talk about that, the Library Square developer. And what caught my attention was they described the project as mixed income. Mixed income. It's not a mixed income project. And we shouldn't tolerate developers putting that information out there. I understand why they do it. They want to manipulate the perception of the project, but it is not a mixed income project. 90% of the units are at 50, 60% of AMI. 10% are at 80. There are 0 market rate units in this project. Mixed income mixes a range of incomes. Usually it's flipped the other way. This is, 10% at 80, 90% low and very low income. Usually mixed income is 80% market rate, 20% below market rate. That's a good mix. That's what New York State promotes. So it bothered me that they came up here and they said that. I do appreciate, Council Member Boxell, you asked them about the mix of the building, but I wish you would follow up when developers come up here and they make claims like this. If you're not familiar with the terminology for housing development, for affordable housing development, I would ask that you please educate yourself about that because these projects are coming up. This is important, and it's not about affordable housing. That's important, right? We have a housing crisis. It's not a crisis that Mount Vernon created. The real problem I have with a project like this is I question the social validity of this project. Building a building like this where you have 100% of the units below market rate doesn't seem to be good social policy. Low-income, high-rise projects don't seem to be good social policy. Mixed income projects do seem to be good social policy. Getting people from different income groups together is a good model. This is not. It's not. It traps people. It doesn't force them to move into different economic brackets. They keeps them in the same bracket. That's one problem, the social. The other is the economics, the financing of this. This developer has already signaled that they're going to be seeking a pilot from the Mount Vernon IDA, a 30-year pilot. I've tracked the IDA pilots very, very closely. This is not the first project like that. There are several. There's 7 that I've tracked since 2016. The foregone tax revenue is enormous to the city. Where is the return on investment for that? That's the question. The developers promise, this one too, lots of promises about how this will revitalize the city. There are projects all over the place that have been built. I do not see the revitalization. So the question is, we've poured lots of taxes in terms of foregone revenue, an additional opportunity cost, and then lots of externalities that we don't even know about that we've had to pick up.
Where is the return on investment for the community? I would ask that going forward with the comprehensive plan, you look at incorporating the IDA into your comprehensive plan so that we can really leverage that tool. It's a powerful tool. Other communities do that. For example, Victoria Stores, who's doing the economic impact analysis for our IDA, she is the executive director of an IDA. They don't even allow housing projects. They've also tied their IDA to their comprehensive plan. So I know you don't have direct control over it, but please consider using that tool to improve the economic outcomes in our community. Thanks very much.
Mr. McDonough, just one quick question. You said the consultant for the IDA?
Yeah, so there's Victoria Stores from Stores Associates. She is the executive director of the Bethlehem, New York
Okay,
IDA.
that's what I wanted to know.
Yeah,
Okay.
and they specifically tied their comprehensive plan to development through the IDA because it's such a powerful potential tool. So
Thank you so much. Okay, before Mr. McDonough got up, again, council can speak on all the topics. I would like you to hone in on what is your committee. That way we still have a whole tally sheet to go through. But if you feel compelled to say something else, Mr. Thompson, stop laughing. By all means. So I'm going to start with Councilman Thompson.
I'll just make a general statement. Good evening, everyone. I know it's late. We have a lot of work to do here in Mount Vernon. We have a lot of things to address. I know there are a couple of new things that came up, and I want to make sure that I look into specifically some of the parking issues, because as you say your addresses, I'll look up in the area just to see what those issues look like. So I'll be working on that by the end of this week. And I know some of our processes take a while within the city, but we're still working on it. We're not perfect. As I always say, we're not perfect, but we're productive. So we're doing the very best we can to serve every resident within our city. So I look forward to continuing working with everyone to make sure we're doing the best by everyone that we serve. Thank you.
Councilman Potteet.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you to all the residents from Hutchinson Boulevard for coming. Mr. Walsh, I especially like the taxation without representation phrase, and I gotta figure out how to use that in a speech that I give one day. So thank you. And I'll drive by on the way home just so I can see what the issue is. But thank you for coming in.
Not right now. Sorry.
Sure.
Go ahead.
There were comments around the budget and the budget being late, and there are times when you have to say that you're wrong. So thank you for holding us accountable to that. I don't think your comments were off. Our job is to make sure that what happened this year doesn't happen next year. But thank you for your comments. And in the effort to be brief, that's all I have, Council.
Councilman Boxell?
I was trying to understand the parking situation, Hutchinson Boulevard. So it's a one-way street. Is it two-way? But there's just no cars allowed to park on the opposite side. Got it. So the side with the houses, you're saying you don't want them to, you want to, what's there now? There's no parking signs there?
So right now, Hutchinson Boulevard, the way that Hutchinson Boulevard is, it has enough room to be able to park on one side of the street.
Yes.
The other side, you're not allowed to park
Correct,
on.
yeah.
If you park on the right side of the street, let's just say, because that's the only way you could park.
Yeah.
Okay, it's really one lane of traffic going up and down.
Yep.
Okay, so what they're saying is they just want to have, to get rid of those no parking signs for, what is it, just Wednesday, I think it is?
Oh, so
Wednesday.
the street cleaning, alternate,
Right.
I mean, well, there's no
Okay,
alternate,
right,
but right.
right.
Understood. Okay. I guess we'll look into that then, right? Yeah. All right. Thank you. I just wanted some clarity on that. All right. Mr. Thompson, you mentioned about the budget timing. Yeah, we are a bit late. But I mean, the county, it's November 10th, right? That's when it's, the proposed budget is supposed to, I mean, we could follow a similar suit. I don't think November 10th is, particularly early. You mentioned like October, New Rochelle and stuff. I think those dates are really early. If you wanted to have a precise budget, November is a reasonable date. And then the actual final budget, well, it was just approved by the Board of Legislators this week. And that they actually have until December 27th, by county statute to have the final budget approved. So I don't think it's a issue where we're trying to sneak it in all in the last month so no one has a, a say so, because it's not uncommon because the county does a similar process. Miss Karen, I think you had a lot to say, and I would love it. I would love an email so I can properly follow up on everything that you addressed. Mr. McDonough, this happens to be under my committee, finance, right? So, I happen to feel pretty strongly about what you're just talking about, and you're not wrong. And I'm just one member of 5, and I tend to agree with you. I think that the city of Mount Vernon is not in a position to support piloted projects at this point. Our financial situation does not support that, and I think you're correct in many of these aspects. So. Again, I'm just one vote, but that's how I feel about that as well. And that's all my comments I have.
Councilwoman Brown?
Thank you, Council President, and thank you all for coming out tonight. I know it's late. I'm exhausted, so I can only imagine how you all feel. For the resident from Hutchinson Boulevard, I actually had a conversation with our Commissioner of Public Works today. Someone gave me a heads up that you all were coming. So I gave him a call and, asked what we can do about it. So he has his team going over there to evaluate tomorrow. So hopefully we can get something done soon. But what I'll do is if someone or everyone could give their contact information to Antoinette Anderson, who's our legislative aide. She's in the back. Raise your hand, please. Then we can follow up with you and make sure that we get something done. The commissioner was a little thrown off. He said he's never seen some residents refuse services, so he was shocked. But I'm sure there's something that we can do. And also, if someone, just one person, if Council President will allow me, can come to the mic and give me clarity on I didn't understand the no parking zone where cars could park. That kind of confused me. No parking free zone. That still confuses me. Got you. Okay. So yes, so we'll follow up with you. Hopefully we'll get a response tomorrow. If not, we'll follow up by Friday. So if you just give her your contact information, we'll do the follow up. Yes, you can hand it to the deputy clerk.
Okay, thank you.
With regard to the speed bumps, actually, Antoinette, what I would like to do is have DPW come in and do a presentation on speed bumps, because it's been going, it goes a lot of ways, right? Sometimes they can put a speed bump immediately. Sometimes they want a study done. So let's just get an official process put on the record so that we can establish how we should go about getting speed bumps added and what the proper procedure is. As far as my knowledge goes, there's supposed to be a traffic study conducted by the police department to see how many incidences have occurred over there. Yeah, but it changes from resident to resident, right? So I think we should just have one officially on the record, and that be it moving forward, so that we could hold them accountable to that. The city was looking at, I know there was a concern about speeding. We were looking at, Antoinette, we were actually looking at reduction of the speed limit. So the state law allows us to, under Governor Hochul, allows us to reduce the speed limit in the city from 30 to 25. But we need a traffic engineer to certify that it can be done. So let's follow up on that traffic consultant. We were looking at it and I'm not sure where it is. So let's figure that out so that we can get that done as well. And while we're adding to the list of presentations, let's also have police and DPW come in to address the leaf blower ordinance. So we need to figure out what the plan is for enforcement. They kind of pass the buck to each other. So let's just have them identify a plan before at the next meeting, so that we can properly enforce it during the ban times. Let's see. Also for PD, can we have them? This could be done offline, actually. Never mind. Ms. Sketchy, so I addressed that. Oh, so the crosswalk at the Fleetwood stations, I can follow up with DPW. This is a long list, Antoinette, I'm sorry. Follow up with DPW to see if we can get the crosswalks done over there for the Fleetwood station. I don't think the parking permit after certain hours is a bad idea, so I'll address that as well. When you send the email to Councilman Boxell, can you also include me? Thank you. Then Ms. Boyden and Mr. Thompson, excuse me, Gabriel, Mrs. Thompson is your dad. You're right, right? I won't shit here and sugarcoat it. Yes, we are supposed to have the budget produced at a certain point. Historically, it's been late. You know, what I often, and I know Mr. Thompson was talking about how we allowed folks to come and present and lie. It's in the charter, right? The repercussions for if the budget is not produced. It's, what do? You bring them here, you ask the questions, and then what? Right? If the budget's not produced, do we hold up the business of the city? Do we stop voting on things? Right? It's like, what is, I guess I would like to hear, what would you like to see if we ask the mayor about the budget and she doesn't produce it on time? And I would love for you to come up to the mic, Ms. Boyd, and if it's not produced on time, what would you like to see at that point?
Right. So first point of clarification is it is not the mayor, it's the Board of Estimate and Contract, right? That is supposed to produce the budget, that has the initial responsibility to produce the budget. So that's good. Okay, right, but you guys collectively have that responsibility. Yeah, in the charter you do. So I don't know what you're doing in practice, but the charter says that it's produced by the Board of Estimate and Contracts. What can you do? I mean, one of the things you can do is make it clear that you're not going to get what you ask for, that you're going to be really, really harsh about it if it's late. You know, have there be some consequences for it being late. I think you guys have a lot more power than you exercise. And it will be uncomfortable, and maybe that's why you don't do it. I understand that. But it's uncomfortable for us too, right? As residents.
I got you.
18th, right? That's about.
What do you mean by not get what you want?
You
What do
don't have to approve. So there are things you can't do, right? With the budget, there are things that you can't impact or decline, but there are a lot of things that you can.
Yeah, but the items in the budget have nothing to do with the timing of the budget and how we approve it. If it makes sense for the city of Mount Vernon, whatever they come, we're not gonna disapprove them as a penalty if it was something good, or approve something that's bad. Or, you know, you see what I'm saying? I have an issue with that. If we're gonna penalize them arbitrarily because of the timing, if it's something that's necessary in the budget, like.
I don't think it's arbitrary. The charter is not arbitrary. Like the
No, I
charter
hear-
gets
no, I
treated
hear
like
what
it's
you're
a
saying, but
suggestion.
You mentioned not giving them what they want if the budget is late, and I don't think that's a feasible
I think it's feasible.
punishment.
There has to be consequences, right? And not everything.
But
I'm
it's-
sorry, I can look at that budget and
I don't
pick
think
out.
what's in the budget is what they want. I would hope that was presented in the budget would be. for
Have
the-
you looked at the, like, it's
I look at the
not.
budget all the time, but yes, what's in the budget, specifically supposed to be for the benefit of the city, and
It's-
it's there for services and
There are absolutely things in the budget that you could impact.
for
That
sure,
are
and
things that
that should
are
be
desires.
addressed regardless of what time it comes in.
should be, but it's
If I
not.
see something in the budget that's a problem, that conversation should be had whatever, if the budget is late or if it's on time. That's my issue with
It
that
should be,
statement.
but it generally is not. And
There's
you could
there's certainly we have been having those conversations with things in the budget that we have issue with. Certainly.
Can I yield my time back?
Go ahead. I have issue with the punitive for being late.
The bottom
Yeah.
line point is that there need to be
Councilwoman
consequences for
Bennett.
not producing the budget on time.
I got you. Thank you. So yeah, I don't disagree with you, right? And I think striking a balance on what those consequences and not hurting the city, I think is what's important, right? And are there things that can be lowered? Yes, travel expenses can be lowered, right? There are things that absolutely can be lowered, right? It's about finding the balance. But I also want to state that as the chair of the Charter Revision Commission, we know that our charter is outdated, right? So who's to say that the dates aren't adjusted to match the county, right? Like there are several things in the charter that aren't followed because it doesn't make sense for the city, right? And we've said numerous times that, first of all, the charter contradicts itself. The charter has things apply that it's just not feasible for the city, right? So I guess, is the timeline of the budget not one of those things? And am I saying that it should be adjusted to the June, July timeline that the mayor said? No, I don't believe that is true. It's not a June, July timeline. But Ms. Boyd, I'm sorry, I can't have no, it is not a June, July timeline. It's what she suggested. She said the state, maybe she meant to say the city. I know that the state isn't on a June, July timeline or July, June timeline. But I guess I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm saying that the charter itself needs to be updated, and maybe the timeline that is in there, given the time, actually, we have the comptroller in here. And I would love to ask the comptroller to verify for us when we receive the numbers from the state for the retirement, if you can. With the retirement numbers, yeah. And all the healthcare stuff, just as a FYI.
Well, that fluctuates, but because sometimes they don't know what it is they're going to do. So let's do retirement first. Retirement typically comes in and they usually give this estimate as to what the retirement is going to be, because the retirement is then calculated based upon actually the employees themselves, right? And also their contributions on that. So that's a little bit more of a sure kind of process for that, right? That comes in. And that may very well come in sometime, again, within the August to the September, October kind of timeframe, depending on what it is. But generally, that number doesn't change a whole lot. That number doesn't change a whole lot. If we look at historically, what it has been is that it has increased 3-5%, so forth and so on. So an estimate can be made on that. The health is a little bit more volatile, right? That's where so give you an example, last year, they gave an estimate for it. And they didn't give the estimate, and they said it was an estimate, and the true number is not going to come until sometime in December, right? And they gave an estimate that it was going to raise, I think, like 5% or something of that sort. Then they came back in December and said, nope, it's not that. This is what it actually is, right? A few years ago, they estimated it at a 10%, right? So like for this year, they estimated that it would jump up around 8% is what they originally said to us, right? Is that it's going to do that. And then they came back and said, no, it's not going to be that. And so what we did is we then made the adjustment in the projection. Nevertheless, right, on all of that, right? So we're clear. Actually, the way the budget works, and you gotta go section 79 and then 80. 79 places the budget and the annual estimate being presented to the Board of Estimates at the responsibility of the office of the mayor. Right? It says August 30th, so there's some clear deadlines. August 30th, the department heads, including the Board of Order, is supposed to give their annual estimate, right, to the mayor, right? And the mayor then, by that date, it says by that date, then the mayor is supposed to then present an annual estimate to the Board of Estimates by its first meeting, right? In September, right? If I'm reading it correctly, right? Which is when it's supposed to come down, right? So section 79, right, says the fiscal year of the city shall commence on the first day of January, on or before the 31st of August. Thereafter, each year, all heads of the department, including the Commissioner of the Board of Water Supply of the city of Mount Vernon, and the officers empowered by law and ordinance to control and to authorize expenditures shall furnish to the mayor estimates in writing of the amount of expenditures for the next fiscal year, right, in their respective departments and offices, including a statement of salaries of their subordinates, which estimates the mayor shall lay before the Board of Estimates and Contract at its first meeting thereafter, and the same shall be entered into the minutes, right? So it starts with the department heads. The department heads are supposed to by that date. Now, if you roll back in June of 30th, I am supposed to give to the Board of Estimates, all right, the outline of all of the expenditures for that year, right? So everybody knows how much for part of the year we do, which is what for my 3 years I've done, right? By June, this is what I give you, right? For you to have that. And then the same lines up with also those who actually owe taxes. Then by August 31st, the departments are to give it to the mayor. They're supposed to then be to Ms. Boyd's point, right? There's their deadline. And then by the next meeting, right, there is to be now the presentation to the Board of Estimates, right? Because then in October, by October 15th, I'm now supposed to give what may be in what we would call, I guess, the fund balance or available from the fund balance by the 15th of October, so that we could then reduce, because then that's why you got an estimate. It now has been placed before the Board of Estimates. You now have set out a hearing, and now if there's something else, we can then reduce it, right, from it. So I've heard a lot about this. Let's change the time. Change the time is not going to do anything. The bottom line is that there's a time frame in which we just need to try to meet those time frames. It will cost for us, now that we have, just be honest, now that we have at least 3-4 years of true data, you can then estimate what that retirement cost would potentially be. You could also kind of estimate what the health benefits would be. But prior to that, it was really volatile to be able to do that. So that's the time frame. Did I answer your question?
Oh, yeah, kind of.
No, if I didn't, then.
You answered it. Could you also speak to the establishment of a fund balance and the capital budget and exactly how that's looking?
Okay. So the city doesn't have a fund balance, and the main reason why the city doesn't have a fund balance is a combination of a few things. One is we've not had audits. We were behind in our audits, right? So you don't have a true understanding of what your real expenditures were at all in the city, right? And so therefore, when you've had over expenditures of the budget for a number of years, if you start looking at the audits now that are coming out, right, there's these budget deficits that are happening every year. Happened in 18. The auditors are saying it's going to happen in 19. right? And this is a direct result of when there is not any kind of financial information, which is why the last charter revision committee amendments to ensure that there was at least this quarterly kind of reports is a good thing, because while it's unaudited, at least you know what it is, right? So because you don't have that, right, you've got these kind of just willy-nilly kind of expenditures that was happening. Now what we have is we have a whole bunch of taxes that are out, that are in arrears, right? Which typically, if you take that tax money that's out in arrears, not the interest and the penalties, but the taxes. So when you look at the taxes are $29 million, right? Taxes, interest, and penalties is 59. It's $30 million in all of that, right? But you take the taxes itself, you would say that's where the fund balance would really be, right? Now, the fund balance is broken up into several components. You've got your assigned, you got your committed, you got your unassigned, right? That are in there. Typically, what would happen is that in a fund balance, you would have anything that would be assigned would be things like the contract settlements and stuff like that. So, you know, all of this about paying retro and not being able to pay it would eventually have come from the fund balance. So how the fund balance works is that every year you budget, and you budget expenditures, and you budget revenues. And anything at the end of the year, there's a budgetary surplus, that money goes into the fund balance, right? That money increase the fund balance, right? And every year then you look to see in your fund balance, what do you have that's assigned, what's committed, what's unassigned, right, in there, so you can determine. It's really not about the total amount of the fund balance, it's about what is unassigned that you could technically use. And within that, when you talk about assigned or committed, capital funds could very well be in that, right? If you have it, right? So the movement to get these arrears kind of paid will help to restore a fund balance and be able to then help with a capital fund, which is why I've been saying also, we got to start to also not only do a general fund budgeting, but also a capital fund budgeting. But we got to marry that with getting that fund balance back up.
Got you. Thank you.
Makes sense?
Makes sense to me. No. Needless to say, Ms. Boyd, you are correct. Gabriel, you are correct. That there can be consequences. And you know, this council, no, your time. No problem.
You're not being recognized.
When it
I was
comes to the budget,
serious.
when it comes to the budgeting process, in all seriousness, yeah, that is one of the things we really do need to really dig down into with the change of the charter. That is one area that, as the chief financial officer, I would say, let's look at that process, right? To see how we could basically kind of improve the process, because it really shouldn't be that it is on the show. A good lion's share of it is on the shoulder of the mayor, right? The mayor or the mayor's office. That was kind of, might have worked in heyday, but modern day, that really is not the best way to kind of do that. Now, I have to think through what my suggestions would be for how you change that, but absolutely. Yeah, but I think one of the things too is I think that because nowadays public is much more engaged and inquisitive about that process. So we have to figure out a way to shift a little bit or all way to this kind of really public engagement process in the budgeting process itself, right? And there's some models around that, right? How you actually could do that to just at least kind of, because some of the expenses get fed by some of the things that also involve the public in administration. Make sense?
Councilwoman Brown, you finished?
No, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I'm just wondering because we still haven't,
I'm
still haven't
sharing my
tallied.
time with everybody.
No, but it's better to be thorough. It's better to be thorough.
Yes, I was saying, you guys are right. Yes, we can do more. We can cut certain expenses. And I'll commit to, like, I think even in this budget, right, there are definitely things I think that should be cut, et cetera. So I'll commit to doing a better job in my position, right? And also, next year, serving as council president, keeping I'm trying to get my language together, but making sure we stay up with the timeline, starting from making sure that the departments have submitted their proposals in August, et cetera. And I know, Gabriel, you think it's lip service, but I can only tell you what I can do in the future as opposed to, what's happening now. We've already passed the timeline. Thank you, Council President.
Okay, with that being said, I'm not gonna address everything. I want to say to everybody, thank you so much for being here tonight and being so patient through the public hearing, through the presentation. Again, Ms. Boyd, thank you so much for coming to the meeting and even speaking, because a lot of times people from other boards don't come, they give up, whatever, and I really appreciate you coming. Yes, things were late this year. But I do want to commend the administration because they did make a conscious and honest effort to bring the budget down. And a lot of the reason why it is so late coming to council is because of that purpose. I mean, even up until a minute before the Board of Estimate and Contract meeting, it was still like we were changing cover sheets because it had gone down and we cut and the mayor had cut. So, but you're right. We have to do a better job of getting everything in a lot quicker. Mr. McDonough, thank you again for coming. Got to look into a lot of the things that you spoke about. And also, Ms. Zoop Harris, I'm going to look into potentially, I don't know if it's able to be done. Maybe in front of your house, there could be a handicap parking space, but I don't know what the process and procedure is. But since you do have 2 handicapped people in the house, I'm gonna find out from DPW and parking how we could potentially make that happen for you, at least, so you're secure. And I know that DPW, I'm texting the commissioner and he already said that Councilwoman Brown was on top of it. So, and I have full faith that that'll be done. Buzz, so happy that you got here today. Yes, we have had a lot of complaints, Karen, a lot of complaints about the gas-powered leaf blowers. The one thing I will say is that when anybody in the community comes across these people, I'm thinking that maybe the clerk's office, maybe we send out a mailing, like as you see these landscapers, maybe we could put a mailing together and identify that they're in violation, send them a copy of the legislation. I mean, I think that that's money well spent. So when you see it, say something, email our legislative aide or email our deputy clerk, and let's see if we can get that. I'll work with the legislative aide to see if we could get that process in place going forward, because there are a lot of people that are in violation. They're not registered. And I see them across the street from my house on a regular basis. So I think that's how we can't keep leaving everything up to DPW and like what Councilwoman Brown said. What's the matter?
But if they send it in, who's going to enforce it? I guess is the question.
No, I understand that part of it, but I think the notification to landscapers also, a lot of them don't know that this legislation is in place, right? So if we see somebody in violation, we can take an extra step and just have the clerk's office send them the legislation, let them know that they're not registered. Oh, you do it already. All right. Well, there we go. So the more the public wants to get involved in this, send the names over. All right, with that being said, thank you everybody for being here tonight. I think we're gonna go straight into the tally sheet. Does anybody need to take a break? Well, you look half asleep. You need some sugar? All right, thank you, everybody. Take care. Ms. Paris, it's 302? 302 is the address? Okay.
And 306.
And 306 for the handicap?
Both have handicap.
Okay. Good. Where are you going? Stepping right in, legislation and public works.
Thank you, Council President. I have item number, I'm assuming it's one, an ordinance authorizing the award of a contract for municipal broadband Wi-Fi to Lightpath and the execution of an agreement for the implementation of the Wi-Fi, public Wi-Fi system. That's on the agenda. I have item number 2, an ordinance retroactively authorizing the chief of staff to attend the Strong Cities Network 5th Global Summit in Cape Town, South Africa, December 3rd through the 5th, 2024. That's on the agenda. I have item number 3, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a leasing service contract with Government Capital for leasing of the Department of Public Works vehicles. That is on the agenda. I have item number 4, an ordinance authorizing a budget transfer to cover administrative fees for the union grievances filed against the city of Mount Vernon, Department of Public Works. That is on the agenda. I have item number 5, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an emergency contractual agreement with PCI Industries, Inc. for sanitary and stormwater sewer repairs. That is on the agenda. I have item number 6, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Mount Vernon, New York, designating Tessa Williams as a marriage clerk. That is on the agenda, and that concludes my report, Council President.
Anybody have any questions? I have a question, item number 3. Regarding the Department of Public Works and the list of vehicles, it was updated to exclude the vehicle for the mayor, the planning and assessor.
Correct. The list only pertains to the DPW vehicles that were needed. There are no additional departments included in that leasing list.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Human Resources?
Thank you, Madam President. I have item number 7 from Civil Service, an ordinance authorizing the transfer of funds within the Civil Service Commission budget to cover medical expenses for police officer hiring. That's on the agenda. Item number 8 from Civil Service, an ordinance authorizing the change of title for the Executive Secretary to the Civil Service Commission to Civil Service Administrator. That's on the agenda. Item number 9 from Recreation, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to retroactively enter into an agreement with the County of Westchester to provide funding for summer basketball program and senior programming. That's on the agenda. Item number 10 from the Youth Bureau, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to retroactively enter into an agreement with Westchester Putnam Workforce Development Board for the Youth Employment Program. That's on the agenda. Item number 11 from the Youth Bureau, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to retroactively enter into an intermunicipal agreement with the Westchester County Youth Bureau, and that's on the agenda. That's all I have. Thank you.
Public safety and codes.
Thank you, Council President Gleason. Item number 12 for information purposes only from Consumer Protection, the November 2024 monthly report. Item number 13 is called for from the Fire Department, and ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Empress Emergency Medical Service for ambulance and paramedicine services. Item number 14 is on the agenda from Public Safety, and ordinance authorizing the transfer of the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA funds for the purchase of 3 vehicles for the Department of Public Safety. Item number 15 is on the agenda, also from Public Safety, and ordinance authorizing the purchase of 7 2025 Toyota Camry LE hybrid vehicles for the Department of Public Safety. Item number 16 is on the agenda from Public Safety, and ordinance authorizing the purchase of Motorola Edge devices for the Department of Public Safety. Item number 17 from Public Safety, and ordinance authorizing the use of ARPA funds for flooring installation in the Aware Command Center. Item number 18 on the agenda from Public Safety, and ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the County of Westchester for reimbursement of parking fees for the use of municipal parking lot number 4 from May 1st, 2016 through October 31st, 2022. Item number 19 on the agenda from Public Safety, and ordinance authorizing the marking of 5 unmarked 2022 Ford Police Interceptor vehicles for budget for patrol duties. Item number 20 on the agenda from Public Safety, and ordinance authorizing the purchase of 400 Target gift cards to support the Public Safety Camera Program to enhance community safety and crime prevention. 400 Target gift cards, each valued at $150. And last, item number 21 from City Clerk, a resolution authorizing the reappointment of Francine Rosario to the Taxi Cab Commission. And that's all I have.
Finance and planning?
Council
Oh,
President?
sorry, my apologies. Does anybody have any questions?
Yes, Council President. I'd just like to bring.
I didn't recognize you yet. Councilwoman Brown?
It's too late to play these games, but item number 19, that letter is actually all wrong. The county doesn't have a contract for police markings. They just assumed that contract was for police markings. So I would advise it's not put on the agenda because it would not be following the procurement laws, but it is completely up to you as the chair. My recommendation would absolutely be to hold it on the floor, but as I say, I defer to you.
Are you done with your questions? Okay, finance and planning. Thank you. Roll call.
Councilman Box Hill,
Present.
Councilwoman Brown,
Here.
Councilman Potteet,
Here.
Councilman Thompson,
Here.
Council President Gleason.
Here. With that being said, we're starting out with Councilwoman Brown, Legislation and Public Works.
Thank you. I have an ordinance authorizing the award of a contract for municipal broadband to Lightpath and the execution of an agreement for the implementation of a public Wi-Fi system. So moved.
Second.
On the question,
No questions.
hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Boxell,
Aye.
Councilwoman Brown,
Aye.
Councilman Potteet,
Aye.
Councilman Thompson,
Aye.
Council President Gleason.
Aye.
I have an ordinance retroactively authorizing the chief of staff to attend the Strong Cities Network Fifth Global Summit in Cape Town, South Africa from December 3rd to the 5th, 2020. That's a long flight for 3 days. So moved.
Second.
On the question, hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Boxell,
Aye.
Councilwoman Brown,
Aye.
Councilman Potteet,
Aye.
Councilman Thompson,
Aye.
Council President Gleason.
Aye.
I have an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with Leasing Service Center, Inc., doing business as Governmental Capital for the leasing of Department of Public Works vehicles. So moved.
Second.
On the question, hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Boxell,
Aye.
Councilwoman Brown,
Aye.
Councilman Potteet,
Aye.
Councilman Thompson,
Aye.
Council President Gleason.
Aye.
And I have an ordinance authorizing a budget transfer to cover administrative fees for union grievances filed against the city of Mount Vernon, Department of Public Works. So moved.
Second.
On the question, hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Boxell,
Aye.
Councilwoman Brown,
Aye.
Councilman Potteet,
Aye.
Councilman Thompson,
Aye.
Council President Gleason.
Aye. Councilwoman Brown, did you sign your legislation?
I'm sorry?
Did you sign it?
No.
Oh.
I don't even have it on.
Human Resources?
Well, before we move on out of my committee, Assistant Corporation Counsel, I'm not seeing the legislation that we talked about the procurement manager.
Oh, yeah, we haven't received it. I was told that there was, we haven't received the referral letter.
But why do we need a referral letter if we specifically requested it at 2 meetings ago? Right, but why would it come from the mayor's office if the request came from city council? Right. You're understanding according to law or understanding according to past practices? I mean, I thought we talked about this yesterday. I thought we said it was gonna be on this agenda. Well, we've put local laws, we've put all kind of things. And I guess I wish when we were having the conversation that you would have asked if there was something in writing, because I thought we were having the conversation here. And I specifically said, can you have it to us by the next meeting? And you said, yes, we will. So my expectation was that it would be there.
I assumed something right, my understanding of what I was told was that it get something.
Okay.
So my understanding also was that this is community. So that's why we didn't speak again.
Communicate to who, by who?
So that was my understanding that you had a conversation about this
With who?
with the mayor.
No, and I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think the part that's frustrating me right now is that we keep talking about the mayor's approval, and the council is a separate body. So the council does not have to go to the mayor nor the comptroller for legislation, right? And I guess my expectation when speaking to you, our representative on the corporation council, is that if we ask for something on the floor and you say you're gonna give it to us, that you give it to us, right?
Right.
So what I'm asking now is, can we have that legislation by the next meeting in December?
I think we can. What I don't understand at this point is why won't we see something in writing?
Because I'm talking to you right now.
Right, but we talk all the time. We always put these in writing. My understanding was that we have a referral letter. We always get a referral letter. So I was expecting something. If you're telling me the policy is that we don't have to do it, then we can go forward with that. But I would prefer something in
think-
writing. Because I don't want that to be the practice and somebody else come up with something that we disagree with, then we're gonna be looking for that. Why
So,
was it-
so just a referral letter from the council saying that we're moving this position from management services to finance and the accounting lines and stuff within
Correct.
that.
Right, so you would be creating the legislation. So whenever we've created the legislation before, we've had a conversation about creating the legislation. You guys create it comes back, we vote on it.
Yeah, we always get something in writing. That's my,
We've
again,
never
that's my
sent a
understanding.
referral
So,
letter to give anything in writing, like so.
okay, okay. And
So
I stand corrected on that. I
we-
stand corrected on that.
two-line referral letter
Mhm.
and like that wouldn't change the legislation needing to be drafted, I guess. So that's
Yeah.
where I'm hung up. So I guess in the future, so that we level set expectation is that if we ask and you need something specifically, that's communicated to me specifically from you, if that's what you need.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, we are on to human resources.
Thank you, Madam President. I have item number 5, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an emergency contractual agreement with PCI Industries, Inc. for sanitary and stormwater sewer repairs. So moved.
Second.
On the question? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Boxell,
Aye.
Councilwoman Brown,
Aye.
Councilman Thompson.
Aye.
I'm sorry. Councilman Potteet. Sorry.
Aye.
Councilman Thompson,
Aye.
Council President Gleason.
Aye.
Item number 6 from the city clerk, a resolution of the city council of Mount Vernon, New York, designating Tessa Williams as a marriage clerk. So moved.
Second.
On the question? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Boxell,
Aye.
Councilwoman Brown,
Aye.
Councilman Potteet,
Aye.
Councilman Thompson,
Aye.
Council President Gleason.
Aye.
Item number 7 from Civil Service, an ordinance authorizing the transfer of funds within the Civil Service Commission budget to cover medical expenses for police officer hiring. So moved.
Second.
On the question? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Boxell,
Aye.
Councilwoman Brown,
Aye.
Councilman Potteet,
Aye.
Councilman Thompson,
Aye.
Council President Gleason.
Aye.
Item number 8 from Civil Service, an ordinance authorizing the change of title for the executive secretary to the Civil Service Commission to Civil Service Administrator. So moved.
Second.
On the question? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Boxell,
Aye.
Councilwoman Brown,
Aye.
Councilman Potteet,
Aye.
Councilman Thompson,
Aye.
Council President Gleason.
Aye.
Item number 9 from Recreation, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to retroactively enter into an agreement with the county of Westchester to provide funding for summer basketball program and senior programming. So moved.
Second.
On the question? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Boxell,
Aye.
Councilwoman Brown,
Aye.
Councilman Potteet,
Aye.
Councilman Thompson,
Aye.
Council President Gleason.
Aye.
Item number 10 from the Youth Bureau, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to retroactively enter into agreement with Westchester Putnam Workforce Development Board for the Youth Empowerment Program. So moved. Oh, employment, I'm sorry. My eyes are getting crossed.
Second.
On the question? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Boxell,
Aye.
Councilwoman Brown,
Aye.
Councilman Potteet,
Aye.
Councilman Thompson,
Aye.
Council President Gleason.
Aye.
Item number 11 from the Youth Bureau, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to retroactively enter into an intermunicipal agreement with the Westchester County Youth Bureau. So moved.
Second.
On the question? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Box Hill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Brown,
Aye.
Councilman Potteet,
Aye.
Councilman Thompson,
Aye.
Council President Gleason,
Aye. Sorry, public safety and codes. I was just reading through something. I apologize.
Thank you, Council President. Item number 12 from Public Safety, an ordinance authorizing the transfer of the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA funds for the purchase of 3 vehicles for the Department of Public Safety. So moved. Can I get a witness?
Second.
There we go.
On the question. Hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Box Hill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Brown,
Aye.
Councilman Potteet,
Aye.
Councilman Thompson,
Aye.
Council President Gleason,
Aye.
Item number 13 from Public Safety, an ordinance authorizing the purchase of 7 2025 Toyota Camry LE hybrid vehicles for the Department of Public Safety. So moved.
Second.
Other question?
These replacing SUVs, is that the,
What?
Are these-
Are you want to be recognized?
yeah, you said it on the question.
Okay,
Please.
so Councilman Box Hill.
Are these gonna be replacing SUVs? Is this what we're doing going forward with the?
This is.
Go ahead.
Council President, may I respond?
Yeah, go ahead.
Councilwoman Brown?
So these hybrids are going to be replacing, yes, the SUVs that are in the detective division.
Okay,
And the detectives are going to use the hybrids and they're going to move the detective vehicles into the patrol division.
got it. Thank you. That makes sense.
There you go.
Okay, roll call.
Councilman Box Hill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Brown,
That's my name. Aye.
Councilman Potteet,
Aye.
Councilman Thompson,
Aye.
Council President Gleason,
Aye.
Item number 14 from Public Safety, an ordinance authorizing the purchase of Motorola Edge devices for the Department of Public Safety. So moved.
Second.
On the question? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Box Hill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Brown,
Aye.
Councilman Potteet,
Aye.
Councilman Thompson,
Aye.
Council President Gleason,
Aye.
Item number 15 from Public Safety, an ordinance authorizing the use of ARPA funds for flooring installation in the Aware Command Center. So moved.
Second.
On the question? On the question, not really so much a question, more like a statement. If you have not gotten over there, take a walk over there and see how that Aware Center is coming out. They've done a lot of construction. And that Aware Room is going to be a game changer here for the city of Mount Vernon. So roll call.
Councilman Box Hill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Brown,
Aye.
Councilman Potteet,
Aye.
Councilman Thompson,
Aye.
Council President Gleason,
Aye.
Item number 16 from Public Safety, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the County of Westchester for reimbursement of parking fees for the use of municipal parking lot number 4 from May 1st, 2016 through October 31st, 2022. We had recommended. No, I'm sorry, this is 16. So moved.
Second.
On the question? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Box Hill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Brown,
Aye.
Councilman Potteet,
Aye.
Councilman Thompson,
Aye.
Council President Gleason,
Aye.
And just to clarify, we had recommended 17 be held, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
17 be held, right?
Yes. So you're gonna hold it on the floor?
So 17 should be held on the floor. Yep, let's hold it on the floor. So I won't read that. Let's go to 18, Department of Public Safety. An ordinance authorizing the purchase of 400 Target gift cards to support the Public Safety Camera Program, PSCP, to enhance community safety and crime prevention, 400 Target gift cards, each valued at $150. So moved.
Second.
On the question, hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Box Hill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Brown,
Aye.
Councilman Potteet,
Aye.
Councilman Thompson,
Aye.
Council President Gleason,
Aye.
19, from the city clerk's office, a resolution authorizing the reappointment of Francine Rosario to the Taxi Cab Commission. So moved.
Second.
On the question? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Box Hill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Brown,
Aye.
Councilman Potteet,
Aye.
Councilman Thompson,
Aye.
Council President Gleason,
Aye. Finance and planning.
Yes, thank you. From Department of Assessment, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Mount Vernon appointing Mr. Charles Hines to the Board of Review. So moved.
Second.
On the question, hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Box Hill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Brown,
Aye.
Councilman Potteet,
Aye.
Councilman Thompson,
Aye.
Council President Gleason.
Aye. With that being said, that is the end of our agenda, but I do ask that somebody call for an executive session. I'll only be 5 minutes. It's regarding a legal issue. Well, you know, if I told you at the beginning of the night, you guys would have cried, so. It's a very important legal issue.
Move to go to executive session,
Four.
a legal
Legal issue.
issue.
So move. You moved it?
Roll
So
call.
move, sorry.
Second. Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Box Hill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Brown,
I do want to say no. Aye.
Oh, my gosh.
Councilman Potteet,
Aye.
Councilman Thompson,
Aye.
Council President Gleason.
Aye.
Okay. Time is 10:39.
We are back, Mount Vernon, and it is, I will take a roll call to come out of executive session.
I move to exit executive session.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Box Hill.
Aye.
Councilwoman Brown.
Aye.
Councilman Potteet, Councilman Thompson,
Aye.
Council President Gleason.
Aye.
I move to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
I don't know what to do next. Roll call.
Councilman Box Hill.
Aye.
Councilwoman Brown.
Aye.
Councilman Potteet. Councilman Thompson.
Aye.
Council President Gleason.
Aye. All right, Mount Vernon, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Just to let you know, we are only going to have one meeting on December 23rd this month. That will be our work session and public session all at one. I hope you join us. If not, I want to wish the city of Mount Vernon and its residents a very happy holiday, whatever holiday you celebrate. And, this is a very sad time for some people. So please reach out to those who have lost someone this year